Have you ever felt the weight of silence after someone you loved walked away? As if the world suddenly became colder, heavier, and more unbearable to carry? That sharp ache in your chest isn't just pain, it's a reminder that you dared to love deeply. And right now I know it feels like the very thing that once gave you life has been stolen from you. The truth is, heartbreak can make you question everything: your worth, your future, even your ability to ever feel whole again. But here's what you need to hear. This brokenness you feel is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of the strongest version of you. When your heart shatters, it feels as if time has stopped. Every memory replays in your mind, every moment echoes with loss, and the nights seem endless. You wonder if the pain will ever fade. But hidden inside this suffering is a powerful invitation, an opportunity to rebuild, to rediscover who you truly are without the weight of someone else's approval. Because heartbreak, as brutal as it is, forces us to face the parts of ourselves we often avoid. It pushes us to confront our deepest insecurities, and in that confrontation lies the seed of transformation. Most people try to escape heartbreak by distracting themselves, rushing into something new, or numbing the pain. But that only buries the wound. It never heals it. What heals is courage, the courage to sit with the pain, to understand it, and to let it teach you. Pain is not your enemy, it is your teacher, and it is here to remind you that you are capable of more than just surviving. You are capable of rising in every second you endure. Without giving up, you prove to yourself that your strength is greater than your suffering. Right now, your mind may whisper that you are not enough, that you lost because you weren't worthy. But those are lies born from fear, not truth. The truth is, the love you gave was not wasted, because giving love is never a mistake. A mistake is believing that your value depends on whether someone stayed or left. Your value was never tied to them. It has always been yours. And when you finally see that, the chains of heartbreak begin to break. This is why you must keep listening, because what you will discover is not just how to mend a broken heart, it's how to ignite a new life. A life where your happiness is no longer in the hands of another. A life where rejection does not define you, but refines you. A life where the loss you feel today becomes the fuel that drives you toward a stronger, braver, and freer future. If you stay with me, you'll understand the cure that no one talks about. The cure that doesn't come from someone else's love, but from the power you hold within yourself. You'll see how this heartbreak, as painful as it is, can be the very moment that awakens your strength, your self-respect, and your freedom. Because the truth is, the cure for a broken heart isn't out there. It's already inside you, waiting to be uncovered. And by the time you hear these words fully, you'll know that what you thought was an ending was actually your rebirth. The moment you realize your heart is broken, you're faced with a choice: to let it break you down or to let it break you open. And that choice is everything. Because when life strips away what you thought you couldn't live without, it is also offering you the chance to see who you really are without it. Heartbreak feels like destruction, but it is secretly a rebirth. The pieces of you that feel scattered and lost are waiting to be rebuilt in something stronger, something unshakable. Think about it. Every time you've been hurt in the past, every disappointment you've ever faced, you survived. You carried scars, yes, but those scars became proof that you could endure, proof that you could rise again. This heartbreak is no different. The pain is real, but so is your resilience. The tears you cry are not signs of weakness. They are the body's way of releasing what no longer serves you. Every drop is a release of old stories, old attachments, old illusions. And the emptiness you feel right now, that emptiness is not a void. It is space being created for something new. Your mind will try to trap you in the story of loss. It will replay what you could have done differently, what you should have said, what you failed to see. But those loops are illusions. They are mental prisons that keep you chained to the past. The truth is, nothing you could have said or done would have forced someone to stay if they were not meant to. Love is not about control, and heartbreak is not about defeat. Heartbreak is evidence that you had the courage to risk your heart, and courage like that never leaves you empty-handed. What you carry forward is the strength of someone who dared to love, the strength of someone who is still here despite the pain. That strength is waiting for you to claim it. But to do so, you must stop asking why they left and start asking what you are ready to create now that they are gone. Because the end of one story is not the end of you. It is the beginning of your power, the unveiling of your deepest truth. This is where transformation begins. Not when someone else comes along to heal you, but when you look into the mirror and realize you are capable of healing yourself. The power you long for, the comfort you crave, is not outside. It is within your willingness to face the pain head on, to breathe into the ache, to declare that this moment will not define your worth. And when you do that, something shifts. You start to feel the flicker of self-respect, the flame of possibility, the spark of life that reminds you you are not broken beyond repair. You are breaking into someone new. Stay with this truth. Let it sink into your bones, because the cure for your broken heart is not found in rewinding the past, and it is not waiting in the arms of another. The cure is your decision to rise. The cure is your choice to see this loss not as the end of love, but as the beginning of your freedom. And once you taste that freedom, you'll never again look at heartbreak as a curse. You'll see it for what it really is, a powerful turning point that awakens you to the life you were always meant to live. When your heart breaks, it feels like you've lost the very foundation of who you are. You wake up and the world looks unfamiliar. Food doesn't taste the same. The things that once brought joy feel distant, and even the smallest tasks feel heavy. That heaviness convinces you that something essential has been taken away, as if you can't be whole again without the person who left. But here's the truth you must hold on to. Nothing essential has been taken from you. The love you carried is still inside you. The strength that kept you alive before them is still here now. What's gone is only the illusion that your happiness depended on someone else's presence. This is why heartbreak feels so unbearable. It doesn't just break the heart, it breaks the illusion. It forces you to confront the places where you handed over your power, where you made someone else the source of your joy, your security, your identity. And when that person leaves, you are forced to look at the empty spaces within yourself. That is why the pain cuts so deep. But those empty spaces are not your weakness. They are the very places where healing and growth can take root. Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth, the way we can emerge from loss stronger, wiser, and more resilient than before. Think about that. Your heartbreak is not a sign that you are destroyed. It is evidence that you are on the edge of transformation. The pain you feel is the pressure that shapes you, like heat and force turning coal into a diamond. And although right now it feels like you are being broken down, you are actually being remade into something unshakable. The mistake many people make is believing healing means forgetting. They rush to erase the memories, to cover the pain, to pretend it never mattered. But real healing is not forgetting. It is remembering differently. It is taking the same memories that once tore you apart and using them to remind you of your capacity to love, your capacity to risk, your capacity to survive. When you shift the way you hold your memories, they stop being chains and start being lessons. Every moment of heartbreak carries a hidden gift. Clarity. Clarity about what you want, clarity about what you deserve, clarity about who you are when everything else is stripped away. The pain is sharp because it points directly to the truth. You now see what is not meant for you. You now see what you cannot compromise on again. You now see that your worth cannot be negotiated or begged for. This clarity is your compass, and if you dare to trust it, it will guide you into a life far greater than the one you thought you lost. So instead of asking, why me? Begin asking, what is this teaching me? Instead of clinging to what was, begin imagining what could be. Every time your heart aches, let it remind you not of what is gone, but of what is waiting to be born. Because this is not the end of your love story. It is the awakening of a new one, a love story that begins with you, with your power, with your wholeness. And when you claim that wholeness, nothing and no one will ever have the power to break you in the same way again. The most dangerous lie heartbreak tells you is that you are incomplete. It whispers that someone else carried the missing piece of your soul, and now that they are gone, you will never be whole again. But pause for a moment and feel the truth. You were never incomplete. You were born whole, and no one has the power to change that. What you shared with another was not the other half of you. It was the reflection of what was already within you. When they left, they did not take your light. They only left behind the mirror that once reflected it. And your task now is not to search for another mirror, but to remember that the light was always yours. Heartbreak feels so heavy because it exposes the deep craving we all carry to be seen, to be valued, to be loved without conditions. When that bond is broken, the wound is not just about losing a person, It is about losing the validation that made you feel safe. But here lies the shift that changes everything. The validation you long for cannot come from the outside. External love may support you, but it cannot replace the love you must give yourself. The moment you realize that the voice of worth you've been searching for is already inside you, the hold of heartbreak begins to weaken. Every powerful transformation begins with awareness, and this is yours. Awareness that your worth does not need to be earned. Awareness that rejection does not mean you are unlovable. Awareness that your heart broke not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to risk love in the first place. And that awareness, when nurtured, turns into strength. It grows into confidence that cannot be stolen, into peace that does not depend on another, into love that radiates from the inside out. Do not run from the silence you feel now. Sit with it. Inside that silence is where you will hear the voice you have ignored for too long. The voice that says you are enough. The voice that says you are not defined by who stayed or who left, but by how deeply you choose to love yourself today. That voice is quiet at first because it's been buried under the noise of longing, doubt, and fear. But the more you listen, the stronger it becomes, until one day is louder than the ache in your chest. This is the shift that turns heartbreak into power. You stop chasing after the one who left, and you start becoming the one who will never leave you. You stop trying to be chosen, and you start choosing yourself. You stop waiting for permission to feel worthy, and you begin to live as though you already are. That is the cure heartbreak cannot touch, an identity rooted in love that cannot be abandoned because it comes from within. And the beauty of this, when you learn to love yourself in the middle of heartbreak, you unlock a freedom most people never find. You discover that even in loss, you are whole. Even in rejection, you are worthy. Even in pain, you are powerful. And once you know that, you will rise. Not just healed, but unshakable. The moment you choose yourself is the moment the healing begins to accelerate. It is not about pretending the pain isn't there or forcing yourself to be strong when you feel fragile. It is about choosing to stand on your own side, even when your heart is trembling. Self-love and heartbreak is not loud, glamorous, or easy. It is quiet, patient, and persistent. It is showing up for yourself when the nights feel unbearable. It is reminding yourself that your tears are not weakness, but proof of your capacity to feel deeply. And it is deciding over and over again that you deserve compassion from yourself, even when you don't feel it from anyone else. Your heart is powerful. Neuroscience shows that the brain interprets emotional pain the same way it does physical pain. That's why heartbreak can feel like an injury, a wound you can't see, but you carry everywhere. But just as the body knows how to heal when it's hurt, the mind and heart also know how to recover. The difference lies in whether you give yourself the conditions to heal or whether you keep reopening the wound with self-blame, regret, and rumination. The more you punish yourself with what-ifs, the longer you prolong the suffering. But the more you offer yourself acceptance and compassion, the faster you move toward wholeness. Self-compassion does not mean excusing the past or pretending you weren't hurt. It means acknowledging the truth without judgment. Yes, you loved. Yes, you lost. And yes, it hurts. But it also means refusing to add extra suffering by telling yourself you were not enough. Because you are enough. You always were. And heartbreak is not evidence of failure. It is evidence that you had the courage to risk love in a world where many people choose to hide from it. That courage deserves honor, not shame. The cure begins when you stop resisting the present moment. Every time you wish things were different, you keep yourself tied to what no longer exists. But the moment you accept reality, not as a punishment, but as your starting point, you begin to feel free. Acceptance is not giving up. It is taking back your power by saying, this is what happened, and I will grow through it. From there, growth becomes possible. Your energy shifts from clinging to the past to creating your future. And that is where the real transformation lies. The future you crave will not come from chasing what left you. It will come from building what is waiting for you. And it begins with small acts. Waking up and choosing gratitude for another chance to live. Moving your body even when you don't feel like it. Speaking kindly to yourself when your mind tries to tear you down. These small choices accumulate. They rewire your brain, rebuild your spirit, and remind you every single day that you are not powerless. You are rebuilding piece by piece into someone unshakably strong. There will come a day when the ache you feel now no longer defines you. Instead, it will serve as proof of the day you refuse to let heartbreak destroy you. It will stand as the reminder that when you thought you had nothing left, you found yourself. And nothing is more powerful than that. Strength does not reveal itself in the absence of pain, but in your ability to keep moving while the pain is still there. Healing is not about waiting until the day you feel no ache in your chest. Healing is built in the moments when you decide to rise even while it hurts. Every choice you make to take one step forward, no matter how small, is proof that your spirit is unbreakable. And that proof builds momentum. The more you act in alignment with your healing, the more your heart begins to believe it is possible. There is a truth about human resilience that science has confirmed again and again. People underestimate their capacity to recover. Studies show that most of us predict we will be broken forever after heartbreak, but in reality, the mind and heart adapt faster and stronger than we imagine. Your brain is wired for survival. Your spirit is wired for growth. And even though today feels unbearable, there will come a moment when you look back and realize you survived the storm that once felt impossible. That realization will change you forever, because once you know your strength, you can never unknow it. The pain you carry right now is not just suffering, it is raw energy that can either be trapped in cycles of regret or channeled into transformation. The choice is yours. If you feed the pain with questions of why me, it grows heavier. If you channel it into building a new vision for yourself, it becomes fuel. The most powerful people are not the ones who never felt broken. They are the ones who turned their heartbreak into power. They learned to use pain as momentum, not as a prison. That same power lives in you, waiting for you to claim it. Imagine the freedom of no longer being defined by what happened to you. Imagine standing in front of the mirror and seeing not the brokenness, but the resilience. That vision is not far away. It is built in daily choices. The decision to nourish your body, the decision to speak life into your own soul, the decision to pursue the goals you once abandoned. Every act of self-care becomes a declaration: I'm worthy of healing. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of my own devotion. When you treat yourself with love, you begin to attract a new reality. Your energy shifts. You stop seeking validation and start radiating confidence. You stop chasing what left and start drawing in what aligns. That shift is magnetic because people are drawn to those who have claimed their worth. But the most important change is not what others see. It's what you feel. You will feel a peace that no one can take away, a stability that no rejection can shatter, and a love that no loss can erase. The person you are becoming is not fragile. They are strong, grounded, and free. And one day, the heartbreak that once brought you to your knees will be the very thing you thank for awakening this power. You will look back and see that the pain was not here to destroy you. It was here to introduce you to the strongest version of yourself. The moment you recognize your strength, the world begins to expand again. What once felt narrow and suffocating starts to open, and possibilities you couldn't see before begin to reveal themselves. This is the quiet power of resilience. It doesn't shout, it doesn't rush, it grows steadily like dawn breaking after the darkest night. And just as the sun rises, whether or not you believe it will, your healing will rise within you, whether or not you can see it yet. The light of who you are has never left. It has only been hidden beneath the shadow of loss. When you start to see yourself as whole, the questions that once tormented you lose their grip. You no longer ask why someone left, because you understand their leaving does not define your value. You no longer replay every moment searching for your mistakes, because you know love cannot be forced into permanence. What remains is a deep calm, the kind that comes from knowing your worth is unconditional. That calm is not indifference. It is freedom. It is the peace of no longer needing someone else to validate what you already know to be true. This freedom is the real cure. Because once you understand that your happiness is not dependent on another person, you become untouchable. You stop living in fear of abandonment because you realize no one can abandon the love you give yourself. You stop living in fear of rejection because rejection no longer erases your worth. And when those fears dissolve, you begin to live boldly. You take risks not from desperation, but from abundance. You open your heart again, not because you need someone to complete you, but because you have so much love within you that it overflows. It is easy to think that love's greatest gift is what someone gives you, but the deeper truth is that love's greatest gift is what it awakens in you. Heartbreak may feel like love's cruelest ending, But it is often love's most powerful lesson to turn inward, to rise, to discover that you are the source. The love you seek outside is only a mirror of the love you must first create within. And when you cultivate that love for yourself, you stop being afraid of loss because you know the one person who will never leave you is you. This realization transforms everything. Your energy changes, your choices change, your future changes. The relationships you create after heartbreak will not be built on fear or need, but on strength and authenticity. You will no longer cling to someone out of desperation. You will walk beside them out of wholeness. That shift creates love that is healthier, deeper, and more enduring. But even before that love arrives, you will already feel full. And this is the moment heartbreak becomes not a curse, but a blessing. Because without the pain that cracked you open, you may never have discovered the depth of your own resilience. Without the ache that forced you inward, you may never have learned to love yourself in a way no one else ever could. Heartbreak didn't end your story. It revealed the chapter where you finally learned how powerful you really are. Every ending carves space for a new beginning. And the emptiness you feel right now is not a void to fear, but a canvas waiting for you to paint on. Heartbreak clears away what no longer serves you, stripping back illusions and forcing you to confront the raw truth of who you are and what you deserve. Though painful, this process is purification. It removes what was not meant for your highest good, so you can finally build on a foundation that is unshakable. The pain you carry is evidence of growth in motion, because growth rarely feels gentle. It stretches, it burns, it demands you leave behind the familiar. And as uncomfortable as it is shaping you into the version of yourself who will no longer settle for less than what you truly deserve. In moments of despair, your mind will try to convince you that you've lost everything. But what if you've actually gained something far greater? The chance to finally choose yourself. The chance to create a life that isn't dependent on another person's presence or approval. Chance to discover passions, strengths, and dreams you may have silenced for the sake of someone else. Heartbreak, as cruel as it feels, is often the very thing that wakes you up to the parts of yourself you forgot to nurture. Psychology teaches us that the human brain thrives on meaning. Pain without meaning crushes us, but pain with meaning transforms us. If you decide this heartbreak is nothing more than loss, it will drain you, but if you choose to see it as the catalyst for your awakening, it will strengthen you. That choice belongs to you alone, and the moment you give your suffering meaning, it shifts. It stops being an anchor and becomes a ladder, lifting you toward the life you were always meant to live. There is power in perspective. Right now, you may see heartbreak as proof that you were not enough. But what if it is proof that you are being prepared for more? What if the rejection you feel is actually redirection? What if the ending you never wanted is the doorway to a future you never imagined? These are not empty ideas. They are truths grounded in the reality that life often removes what is misaligned in order to make space for what truly belongs. And when you see heartbreak through this lens, it no longer feels like punishment. It feels like preparation. This preparation is not just about future relationships. It is about the relationship you build with yourself. The more you honor your worth now, the more you raise the standard for what you allow into your life. The more you respect your boundaries, the more you protect your peace, the more you cultivate self-love, the less you will tolerate anything that does not match it. And when you reach that level of alignment, love will no longer be about filling a void. It will be about sharing in abundance. This is the hidden gift of heartbreak. It dismantles the old so you can rebuild with truth. It hurts because you are letting go of illusions. It heals because you are stepping into authenticity. And as you embrace that authenticity, you discover that your broken heart was never the end of love. It was the beginning of finally learning how to love yourself in a way that no one can take away. When you begin to love yourself in the middle of heartbreak, something extraordinary happens. You stop chasing what has already walked away. You stop bargaining with memories, stop pleading with ghosts, stop tying your worth to someone else's choice. Instead, you turn inward, and for the first time, you realize that the very love you thought you lost is still alive within you. This realization is the turning point, because once you find that well of love inside, you no longer fear being abandoned. You know that no matter who comes or goes, you will always have yourself. The power of this truth is unmatched. Think of how many decisions in your life have been shaped by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loneliness, fear of not being enough. Heartbreak amplifies those fears until they feel overwhelming. But once you anchor yourself in self-love, the fear begins to dissolve. You are no longer living to be chosen. You are living from a place of already being whole. That shift transforms how you carry yourself, how you show up in relationships, how you move through the world. You radiate a quiet strength, and that strength cannot be shaken by someone else's opinion. Psychologists call this self-actualization, the process of becoming the fullest expression of who you are. Heartbreak, painful as it is, often accelerates that process. It strips away illusions and forces you to stand face to face with yourself. It asks, who are you when the person you leaned on is gone? And as you answer, you begin to see that the foundation you thought was outside has always been within. That realization ignites freedom because you stop depending on others to confirm your worth. You already know it. And when you know it, you begin to dream again. You start to see a future that isn't defined by loss, but by possibility. You start setting goals not from a place of trying to prove something, but from a place of genuine desire to grow. Your energy shifts from survival to creation. You are no longer just getting through the day. You are building a life that excites you, and that excitement becomes an antidote to despair, the light that slowly but surely drowns out the shadows of heartbreak. This does not mean the pain disappears overnight. Healing is not about rushing. Healing is about choosing, day after day, to keep moving forward. Some days will still feel heavy. Some nights will still ache. But those moments are not setbacks. They are reminders that you are still human, still capable of feeling deeply. And feeling deeply is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength. The same heart that hurts is the same heart that will one day love again, and this time it will love with wisdom. When you reach this place, you see heartbreak differently. You stop viewing it as something that ruined you and instead recognize it as something that revealed you. It showed you what you were capable of enduring. It showed you the courage hidden inside you. It showed you that even when everything felt lost, you could rebuild yourself stronger than before. And that realization is freedom, the kind of freedom that can never again be taken away. The freedom you claim in heartbreak is not just about letting go of someone else. It is about letting go of the version of yourself that believed you needed them to be whole. That version lived in fear, lived in scarcity, lived in constant negotiation for love. And now, as painful as it feels, that version is gone. In its place, a new you is rising, one who no longer begs for scraps of affection, one who no longer lowers their standards to keep someone near, one who understands that love cannot be begged or bargained for. It can only be received when it is freely given. This is the real transformation. Heartbreak strips away what is false, what is fragile, what was never sustainable. It leaves you raw, exposed, and vulnerable. But that rawness is your power, because in that space you are no longer pretending. You are no longer hiding behind illusions. You are facing life as you truly are, without masks, without defenses. And from that place of truth, you can begin to rebuild, not on dependency, not on fear, but on authenticity. Authenticity is the cure. When you honor who you are fully, you stop trying to bend yourself to fit someone else's vision. You stop twisting into shapes just to be accepted. You stop silencing your needs to avoid rejection. And in that shift, you find something priceless, peace. Peace that comes from knowing you no longer have to chase love, because real love will meet you exactly where you are. It will not ask you to shrink. It will not ask you to betray yourself. It will not disappear when you set boundaries. The pain you feel right now is the death of compromise, the end of settling for less. And though it feels like loss, it is truly liberation. It is the universe's way of pulling you back to yourself, showing you that you no longer have to play small to be loved, that the deepest relationship you will ever have is the one you cultivate with yourself. And once that relationship is strong, every other connection in your life will rise to meet it or fall away. This is not punishment. This is alignment. Life is guiding you toward a higher version of yourself, one that will no longer tolerate what breaks your spirit, one that will no longer confuse attention with love or control with commitment, one that will no longer sacrifice peace just to avoid loneliness, because you now see that loneliness is not the enemy. It is the invitation, an invitation to meet yourself, to learn yourself, to love yourself in ways no one else ever could. When you accept that invitation, the fear of being alone dissolves. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. because you have already rescued yourself. You stop waiting for someone to complete you because you already feel whole. And in that wholeness, you discover the truth. Heartbreak was never here to destroy you. It was here to awaken you, to strip away illusions, to bring you back to the power, the freedom, and the love that has always been within you. Wholeness begins the moment you stop looking outward for permission to feel worthy. It begins when you stop asking, am I enough for them? And start declaring, I am enough for me. That declaration is not arrogance, it is truth. It is the foundation of every healthy choice you will make from this point forward. Because when you know you are enough, you stop chasing people who cannot see your value. You stop holding on to relationships that drain you. You stop confusing the absence of love with the absence of worth. You finally understand that someone else's inability to love you in the way you deserve has nothing to do with your value and everything to do with their capacity. This shift is liberation because it frees you from the endless cycle of self-blame. How many nights have you replayed conversations, searching for the moment you might have done something differently? How many times have you convinced yourself that if you were prettier, stronger, funnier, smarter, they would have stayed? That voice of self-criticism is not truth. It is fear. Fear that if you admit the ending had nothing to do with your worth, you must accept that sometimes love ends without reason, without fairness, without warning. And while that reality is hard to face, it is also the key to your freedom. Because when you stop blaming yourself, you stop punishing yourself for something that was never yours to control. Psychology teaches us that our deepest wounds are not caused by rejection itself, but by the stories we tell ourselves after rejection. When we decide heartbreak means we are unlovable, we bury ourselves under shame. But when we see heartbreak for what it truly is, a redirection, a clearing, a lesson, we rise out of shame and into strength. The pain becomes bearable not because it disappears, but because it is given new meaning. You begin to see yourself not as the one who was left, but as the one who is still standing, still breathing, still capable of love. And that capacity is everything. Your heart may be bruised, but it still beats with courage. It still beats with longing for connection, for growth, for joy. That longing is proof that you are alive, and being alive means possibility. The worst thing you can do is let heartbreak convince you to close, to harden, to stop believing in love. Because the truth is, your ability to love is not a weakness, it is your greatest strength. It means you are willing to risk, to open, to connect, and that willingness is what makes life meaningful. The path forward is not about erasing the pain, but about expanding beyond it. You carry the wound, but you also carry the power to heal. You carry the memories, but you also carry the freedom to create new ones. You carry the heartbreak, but you also carry the seed of transformation that will one day make you grateful you survived it. Because in surviving, you did more than endure. You became. You became wiser, stronger, freer, and no one, no ending, no loss can ever take that away from you. Healing is not a straight line. Some days you will feel powerful, as if nothing can break you again. Other days, a memory, a song, or a quiet moment will pull you back into the ache, and you will wonder if you have made any progress at all. That does not mean you are failing. It means you are human. Growth does not erase pain. It transforms your relationship with it. The sting may still visit you, but it no longer defines you. The wound may still exist, but it no longer owns you. Each time you rise after being knocked down by emotion, you are proving to yourself that you are not fragile. You are resilient. There is a hidden strength in choosing to sit with the discomfort instead of running from it. Avoidance may numb you temporarily, but it robs you of the chance to learn who you truly are when everything you thought you needed is gone. When you sit with the pain, you begin to uncover truths that were invisible before. You start to see patterns in the kind of love you accepted. You recognize the moments you ignored your intuition because you wanted so badly to hold on. You realize that heartbreak has not only broken you, it has opened you. It has given you sight. And sight is power. Because once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. You cannot go back to pretending that crumbs are a feast, that neglect is love, that silence is intimacy. Psychologists call this post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where people emerge from loss not just restored, but expanded. You do not return to who you were before heartbreak. You evolve into someone wiser, deeper, more alive. It may not feel like it yet, but Every tear, every sleepless night, every wave of loneliness is shaping a new version of you. A version that knows its worth. A version that refuses to settle. A version that can stand alone and still feel whole. And this is the paradox. Heartbreak teaches you wholeness. It shows you that the love you thought you lost is not gone forever because it was never fully theirs to give. It was always yours to cultivate. The care, the kindness, the devotion you poured into someone else can now be turned inward. You can become the safe place you were searching for. You can become the voice that says, I choose you, even when others don't. When that shift happens, when you learn to meet your own needs with compassion, you stop living in fear of abandonment because you know that no matter who walks away, you will not leave yourself. The real cure for a broken heart is not waiting for someone else to love you better. It is learning to love yourself in ways you never have before. That is what transforms emptiness into fullness, grief into gratitude, endings into beginnings. And though it takes time, every step you take toward this truth is a victory. You are not broken beyond repair. You are being rebuilt into someone unstoppable. And when you finally stand in that power, love will no longer be about filling a void. It will be about sharing an abundance that begins within you. The moment you begin treating yourself with the same devotion you once reserved for others, something shifts at your core. You stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. You stop measuring your worth by someone's attention and start affirming it with your own actions. Every boundary you set, every promise you keep to yourself, every small step you take toward your growth becomes proof that you are no longer willing to abandon yourself. That proof builds confidence, and confidence builds freedom, the freedom to live without fear of rejection because your identity is no longer tied to who stays or who leaves. Think about the countless ways you have silenced your needs in the past just to maintain someone else's comfort. How many times did you bite your tongue, swallow your truth, or shrink yourself so they would not walk away? That version of you was trying to survive, but survival is not the same as living. To truly live, you must allow yourself to take up space, to speak your truth, to stand tall in your desires without apology. Because when you choose to honor your needs, you stop attracting relationships that depend on your silence. You start attracting connections that flourish in your authenticity. Self-love is not just a phrase. It is a discipline. It is waking up each day and asking, what do I need to honor myself today? It is choosing habits that feed your body, your mind, your spirit, instead of draining them. It is practicing forgiveness, not to excuse your mistakes, but to free yourself from the weight of shame. It is replacing self-criticism with self-compassion, recognizing that you are still learning, still evolving, still becoming. And that process will never end because growth is not a destination. It is a way of living. Psychology shows us that when we consistently act in alignment with our values, our self-esteem strengthens. Every time you honor your boundaries, you reinforce the message that you matter. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you teach your brain to trust you. Every time you treat yourself with kindness instead of cruelty, you wire your mind to see yourself as worthy. These small actions accumulate, and eventually, they reshape the very way you see the world. Pain no longer feels like proof of inadequacy. Instead, it becomes a signal guiding you back to alignment, reminding you where you have neglected yourself and where you must return. This is why heartbreak, though devastating, is also sacred. It disrupts the patterns that kept you blind. It forces you to ask questions you may never have asked otherwise. Who am I when I am no longer defined by someone else's love? What do I truly desire in a relationship? What kind of life feels authentic to me, even when no one is watching? These questions are not easy, but they are necessary, because the answers will not just heal your heart, they will transform your life. The truth is, the person you are becoming through this pain is far greater than the person you were before it. You are not just recovering, you are rising into your strength, into your clarity, into your wholeness. And when you finally see that, you will realize heartbreak was never the end. It was the beginning of you finally coming home to yourself. When you begin to come home to yourself, you notice how much energy you once gave away chasing what could never fill you. See how many hours, days, even years were spent trying to earn the affection of someone who could not meet you at the depths you crave. At first, that realization can sting. It can feel like wasted time, but nothing is wasted when it teaches you who you are. Every sacrifice, Every tear, every silent compromise has shown you the cost of abandoning yourself. And that lesson becomes the fuel for your transformation. You no longer chase what drains you. You protect what nourishes you. You no longer beg for crumbs. You create your own feast. The strength you are building now is not just emotional, it is spiritual. It comes from the decision to align your life with truth instead of illusion. And truth always sets you free. The truth is that love is not proven by someone's presence, but by their consistency. The truth is that loyalty is not measured in words, but in actions. The truth is that your worth is not defined by anyone else's recognition, but by your unwavering decision to honor yourself. Once you see these truths clearly, you cannot settle for anything less. Your heart may still ache, but your spirit begins to rise with conviction. This conviction changes the way you move through the world. You start setting standards, not as walls to keep people out, but as gates that filter who gets close. You realize not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your secrets or share your vulnerability. That doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. Because love without boundaries is not love, it is self-abandonment. When you establish boundaries, you are not pushing people away, you are creating space for those who truly value you to step in closer. Psychology reveals that people who recover strongest from heartbreak are those who rewrite their story from one of loss to one of empowerment. You are no longer the victim of rejection. You are the author of a new chapter. That chapter begins when you choose to define this ending not as proof of your inadequacy, but as evidence of your strength to endure and evolve. You cannot always control who leaves your life, but you can always control the meaning you give their departure, and meaning shapes everything. When you give your pain a purpose, it transforms into power. Think of the person you are becoming right now, more grounded, more discerning, more self-aware. This version of you will not be fooled by surface-level affection. This version of you will not tolerate inconsistency. This version of you will recognize red flags not as mysteries to solve, but as signals to walk away. And because of that, your future relationships will be richer, deeper, and healthier than anything you've known before. The heartbreak that once felt like destruction is preparing you for connection on an entirely different level. One built not on fear of being left, but on the joy of being met. You are not simply healing. You are rewriting the way you love, the way you live, the way you see yourself. That is why this moment, painful as it is, holds so much power. It is not the closing of your story. It is the birth of your most authentic chapter yet. And the person who emerges from this will not only survive love, they will embody it.